Hallo, vandaag doen wij iets heel speciaals op Eikpunt. We hebben iedere keer dat we de nieuwsbrief uitbrengen een interview. En deze keer is het de beurt aan Letty. Letty is een van onze bewoners en zij komt uit Argentinië. Dus het grootste deel van het interview zal in het Engels gaan. En we mixen het een beetje met Nederlands. Dus in de hoop dat toch de meeste mensen het allemaal kunnen verstaan. Letty is eigenlijk ik kan wel zeggen, een specialist in permacultuur. En permacultuur is een vorm van tuinbouw, zal ik maar zeggen. Maar Letty gaat straks echt uitleggen wat het is. Die wij willen toepassen in ons hele gebied hier rondom Eikpunt. En Letty gaat dus zometeen eerst vertellen wat permacultuur precies is. En daarna zullen we door de tuin heen lopen. En gaan Letty en ik samen kijken van wat staat hier nou in dit gedeelte van de tuin, wat je hier ziet, waar eigenlijk de permacultuur al behoorlijk is doorgevoerd. Dus dat gaan we doen. Dus Letty, ik wou vragen, wil jij iets zeggen over wat permacultuur is? In English.
Yeah. Permaculture is a design system. It's a way of looking at things. It's a lens we put on when we observe our surroundings, our lives. It's based on 3 values. It's basically care for the earth, for everything on earth, all the creatures on earth. Care for the humans, we are part of this system. And there is a third permaculture ethic value called fair share, which is also a reduction of consumption, so everyone can have. Is the abundance principle. The more I do, the more I share, the more there is for everyone. These ethics can be put in practice through a set of principles, of design principles. For example, value diversity. This is a great principle where we are actually able to show today. There is produce no waste. What does this mean? It means that we are trying to create systems that are self-sustaining, that you can, in the place where you are, produce everything the system needs to stay alive and produce even more and more life as generations go. Natural generations. What permaculture definitely is not is dogma. It's just a set of tools to look at things and try to think along with nature how to create more sustainable and regenerative systems. So you can use permaculture to design your own life, your schedule, your goals, your job. You can use it for a garden. It's a design system. So there are no rules of do's and don'ts. There are ethical and values and principles to be guided along. There are glasses we put on to think about things or to look at things. Yeah? So one of the most important things to have in mind about permaculture is that it's basically a design system that relies on relationships. It's all about connection between elements and how they support each other, how they help each other thrive. So in this garden we were trying first of all to recuperate the soil. Everything in the garden is born from the soil up. So het bottom, no?
Yeah, the bottom.
The bottom is the most important thing you could do in a garden. So we're trying to help the soil recuperate from years of being pressed by buildings, and there was greenhouses here, right? This was a production space.
Er waren hier kassen.
And when the
tuinkassen.
Yeah, exactly. And when the buildings were made, a lot of machinery and people were pressing. So this was very compacted soil. And through a few years of just sowing annuals are plants that come and go in a year. They sprout, grow, flower, seed and die in 1 year. So those...
Het zijn eenjarige planten.
Yeah. We selected species that are known for rejuvenating the soil. Species that have big roots that go deep down and get up all the all the nutrition the plants will need. And some roots also are doing the job of tilling the soil. They're opening it up so all the soil life can move around easily and the water can permeate the soil. So for a few years, if you come here, it would be just a lot of this, but no trees or bushes. And once we felt the soil was better, we also brought soil from outside. So we are looking at this, and some people see a mess, some people see flowers, some people see animals, and some people see all that and future soil. So we are creating relationships and we are allowing things to happen. This is a very important part of permaculture, is observation, is you based everything in how nature does things. So you look a little bit around and we've noticed that nature doesn't leave empty soil. First comes the grasses, then some herbs, then some bushes, then some trees, all because all these animals are coming along and pooping all the seeds. And then, so you start with just grass and you end up in a mature forest through 100 years. Well, we tap into that and we try to reproduce it. We accelerate it a little bit. We get trees that have been growing somewhere else for a little while. But we're mimicking nature. We're inspiring our actions with what we learned from nature. So the bacteria are doing this job, logging into the plant's roots, but then how do we release this nitrogen into the soil so the roots of other plants can gather it? So it's by stimulating the plant. So when you do this, for example, and pull a few leaves, or you do this like a cow that you would step on it,
Yes.
or even pull it like this, like a cow would eat it. Then the roots say, uh-oh, what's happening? And release all the nitrogen. So then the almond tree, which roots are starting to grow in all directions, say, oh, nice, a little nitrogen for me.
Yes, okay.
So we do want to interact with the landscape.
Yes.
Ideally, we would have animals doing this job for us, walking around, munching a little bit.
We don't have any cows over here.
Stepping or chickens. But we do have us. So I invite you guys to come to the garden and don't be afraid to step on some things. It has a purpose. It has a purpose.
Very nice.
So last year we had only clover here for a year.
Klaver, yeah.
Klaver, yeah. Different types of it to really invite life into the soil. And then in last autumn and spring we've been planting the trees, and you see now that there's a great diversity. It's not just clover anymore. A lot of things get invited. If you go out and walk in the woods, you'll see that a hazelar is not standing alone. It might have a few berry bushes underneath, maybe some ferns. There's some dandelions here and there.
Dandelions is paardenbloem?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is happening? What are these relationships between each plant? Different plants need different things from the soil or offer different services to the system. So if you pair them correctly, you can have a main tree like this almond tree, and then pair it nicely with some blueberries, like in here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you're using the shade that everything else provides to protect the blueberry bush that likes a little bit of shade. The lupine right there,
Yeah.
it's a nitrogen fixing. So there's a difference between fixing nitrogen from the air or from the soil, and we're trying to cover both bases. That is also a permaculture principle. You're trying to get different elements in the system to perform the same function, create redundancy. So if one fails, there's another that comes in and helps you out. Yarrow, it's duizendblad.
Duizendblad, yeah.
Duizendblad.
Yeah.
Duizendblad is fantastic in many ways. She's helping all the system with its flowers, because the flowers attract a little wasp that eats some of the eggs of pests that could disturb our things. They are also fantastic medicine and food. It's fantastic for many different things, and you can have it through tea, or you can just crush a leaf like this if you have a wound. If you hurt yourself in the garden, you can use the duizendblad to protect the space. It will stop bleeding, it would clean the wound. Wow. Is what Greek soldiers used to do in battles.
Oh, wow.
So that is why it's called Achillea. Here is a good example of diversity and a hilt coming together slowly, because this is a vlierbes.
Yeah, small vlier.
Yeah, and eventually it will grow to a big bush and provide all the shade that this little blueberry needs. And you can see the mustard and the calendula and the
Haarsbloemen, calendula.
Yeah, the malva.
De kaarsjeskruid.
Most of the flowers you see around, you can eat, you can make tea with them, you can make tinctures, salves, soaps, all sorts of things. What we're doing is not only for us, obviously. Care for the earth is the first ethic of permaculture. So we are inviting wildlife. We are trying to create little wildlife refuges, if you will. And we notice very quickly how things change. The moment we set up these willow arches,
yes.
That was the first feature in the garden that had some height. Suddenly there were birds. And with the birds came all this poop with seeds. Yeah. And a lot of new things came up in the garden because of these birds. Wow. So we can never underestimate, we are always underestimating, better said, the power of inviting biodiversity to the garden. Yeah. And once we built the hoevels,
the heuvels.
Yeah, the heuvels, we used a lot of wood and earth and created this spaces suddenly where all these little mammals could live. So we are really trying to counteract the impact we have as humans with these huge structures that are not very inviting to life in the gardens. So to compensate a little bit and to provide the humans with some beauty and some opportunity for connection with the land. I would really invite people to come and just sit here. It's so amazing, all that happens in 5 minutes of just silent sitting in this garden. The amount of different type of bees and bumblebees you can see, and flinders, flies, all sorts of little creatures walking in between things. It's really amazing. And if you've seen it 4 years ago and you see it now, you can truly notice the difference.
Very nice.
And when we're taking care of it, making some space for the plants, taking out grass, you can really, when you pull the grass, you really see the amount of organic matter that is accumulating. All right, so what can we eat from the garden? In this garden, let's introduce the from top to down. So top would be the biggest trees. Pruim, no?
Pruim.
Plum, amandel, peach, persic,
yeah.
Apples. There's 2 apple trees on the corners. Yeah. So if you look into this space, on a first sight, you just see color and craziness and a lot of beauty.
Wildness.
Yeah. But when you start paying attention, you see fruit, you see tea, you see salad. Okay, so eatable. Food from tea to salad to soup to whatever you want.
Venkel, toch?
I think it's dill, actually.
Dille.
Dille. Yeah, the taste tastes like dille. Tea.
Yeah, dille.
Tea. Oh, I forgot about our fig tree.
Yeah, vijgen.
Yeah, here it is. I've been having breakfast in the garden every morning this week. There's frambozen over there too. Kijk.
Oh yeah.
It's really yummy. So another thing we can eat is what we called our spice and medicine cabinet. So here we have curry, sali, lavendel.
Curry, sali, lavendel.
Thyme. Citroenverbeen.
Ah ja, citroenverbena.
Rozemarijn. Hyssop.
Hyssop.
Yeah, I don't know that name. Munt, chocolademunt.
Munt.
Bonnenkraut, which became my favorite ever, I had to say. It's so prolific and it goes everywhere, and it can deal with drought, with wet, it's a really nice plant to have around.
Very good.
A different type of oreganos and chives. So this year we started a new way of keeping this fertility on site. Mm-hmm. So there was already compost piles over there in the Ger, but near this space we so far only had our garden compost pile here, but we were still sending our rest to the city in the building and in these houses. So we created a little experiment. We have a worm farm now. We got some
boerderij.
Yeah, we have some lovely friends that are helping us to make rich compost out of our groenteafval and some of our garden too. And there is, I believe, we started with 1 kilo of worms in each pack. Yeah. So there's a nice colony. Woo! Yeah.
Can you show us?
Yes, of course.
Please.
Oh, so it's strawberry season, so there's a lot of strawberry. And we've been mixing things that come from people's kitchens. And I have to clarify, only raw things, nothing cooked, no bread. Well, the only kind of cooked thing would be the coffee grounds or tea. Okay. But nothing else, no bread, yes to eggshells, even if they're cooked. Oh, there they are. Look at her.
Yes.
She's very happy.
Yes.
There's one there, one there. There's plenty.